Hey everybody, and welcome to this episode of Simple Rick doing Noodle stuff. So my objective today is that I'm going to show you how to build a Noodle app from the very first principles, how I go about building a Noodle app from the beginning to the point of at least getting it running on your local machine. And then maybe in the next episode, I'll show how to get it running on a cloud server. But this time I thought I'd just focus on somebody who just wants to get in and get started playing with Noodle. They just want to learn, they want to try it out, they want to see what it's like, what it can do. This is the guide from start to finish on how to do that on your local machine so that you can get a back end and a front end started and start noodling. So let's assume that you've downloaded one of the editors, so either the original Noodle editor, although it's out of date, or Code Crusher, which is the one that me and the guys and gals at the Low Code Foundation maintain, or Fluxscape, that is the commercial version of the original Noodle editor, where you can get paid hosting and they do more updates and bug fixes than the other community branches at the time of making this video in June 26th, 2024. So we've got the editor, we've got it open. I wouldn't, if you were just playing, or like if you're starting a new project, I tend to not really just create a fresh project, especially if I want to use the Noodle backend, because there is an advantage to using the Noodle starter template. So this is, I downloaded the login sign up template from the original Noodle editor when it was commercial, and I've added a few things to it just to make it easy to get started with. And it's a very first version. I'm going to add more stuff to it in the future and make it even easier. But anyway, what you have to do is go to this link, which I guess I'll put in the YouTube description, Noodle starter template, download the code. Let's put it somewhere nice and safe, like in my documents folder, which hopefully doesn't have any crazy documents in it right now, does it? Vaccinations, payslips, no, that looks okay. Cool. Let's unzip that and put it in here. Okay, so we're going to rename that I Feel Good app. Where is it? Oh, crap. Come on. I Feel Good app. And then we're going to go into our Noodle editor or Code Crusher in my case, and we're going to go open folder, find where you just put that file and open it. So it's going to open that project and we're in. So now we have a project that already has a login page, a profile page, a reset password page, a sign up page, a verify email page. So it has a forgot password page. So a lot of things that you just shouldn't have to bother making because it's a pain in the butt. And like I said, this is only if you're using the Noodle backend, so it's not really relevant if you're using a different backend like Directus or Supabase or Firebase or something like that. But yeah, if I'm going to use the Noodle backend, so I'm going to use this one. I would go back out now and just make sure that that project is named. It's probably going to be named Noodle Starter Template. So just so you can name it, something you can recognize, we're going to call it I Feel Good app. And I'll talk to you about the app project in a minute as well. A couple of very initial setup steps that we need to do. We need a backend, or else none of this stuff is going to work. You'll see that there's probably loads of broken, this like name, for example, is probably not going to be connected up very well. Or it'll show us like dotted lines or errors or something like that. There's no SendGrid API key, so there's a few basic setup steps we need to do first. So let's go into the Noodle cloud service. So you can still get this just from the original Noodle repo. If you're watching this video and the Noodle app repo doesn't exist for some reason, who knows why, then the Code Crusher Low Code Foundation repo has a Code Crusher cloud service in there, and it's just a clone of this one. So you can just grab that one. It's the same. So again, we just download the code. Put that back in our documents folder. Oh, is it big or what? No, it's not that big, I don't think. Yeah, 1.6 1.3, so it's small enough. All of the Noodle stuff is quite lightweight, that's why I still like it, even though it's out of date. Maybe by the time you're watching this video, it won't be out of date anymore. That would be nice. So we're going to call this I feel good local. Thank you, iCloud. I feel good local backend. And then we're going to open are we going to open a terminal there? No, we're going to go, yes. We're going to open a terminal here. So I don't know if you can do this on Windows, but on Mac, services, new terminal folder, pretty cool. Maybe you can do like open PowerShell, open with PowerShell, something like that. Just means that I'm already at that path, so it's easier. We're going to open the Docker Compose file that's in there, Docker compose.yaml. Going to open that with, you could open it with, no, in fact, don't open it with TextEdit. I advised that to someone before, and they opened it with TextEdit, and then the indentations get messed up, and a YAML file you need to have the respect of the indentations really specifically. So either get something like BBEdit, which is free. It's a really simple text editor. Or if you're on Windows, I don't know what you would use. Maybe BBEdit exists for Windows, but otherwise you can use Visual Studio Code. It's like hitting a walnut with a sledgehammer. You don't really need Visual Studio Code just for one tiny little YAML file, but it means that you'll definitely be able to respect the indentations of the code that comes up. So I'll show you that one. Okay, so all you need to do here is change. You don't need to change any of this stuff because this is a locally running backend. You're going to export all your stuff afterwards and have it imported into a proper cloud one. So you don't need to worry about master keys and app IDs. Just take a note of what it is. So my app ID, my master key, all in lowercase, and the URL is going to be localhost 3000. So these are the values you're going to need later to make this work in Noodle. And in fact, I'll keep them up just so I would recommend keeping them up just so we have them available. So I'll put them down here. So you're in your local backend folder. You've got your Docker Compose file in front of you and it looks good. So we're going to do Docker Compose up. By the way, you need to have a Docker installed. If I forgot to mention that, please install Docker and then restart your machine so the Docker Compose gets installed on your machine as well. But yeah, if you install Docker Desktop, it'll work fine. Docker Desktop, you have to sign up. These days, you have to create a user account. It's free, it doesn't do anything. It's just so they have your email, I guess, to send you like promotional stuff. But you have to have an account to get the desktop version. And I like the desktop version, so I recommend that you use that because it'll show you like your container and it makes it very clear what's running and why it's not running and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, at the moment, this should be, cannot connect to Docker daemon. Oh, well, of course, because I don't have Docker open. Is Docker running? No, it is not. Ta-da! Now it's running. So I'm going to have to shut down these existing cloud services. So if you already have a cloud service running, just change this port to like 3001, for example. Here, 3001. I'm not sure if this might also need... I think the MongoDB can stay the same, but this is like an exposed port on your computer. So if you have two of them running in port 3000, it's going to mess everything up. So change this one, and these two to like 3001, 3002, whatever. But right now I'm just going to stop all the other ones and run this one. So we'll just say, again, Docker Compose up. And then it should just run and build. And you shouldn't, in theory, have any problems because Docker is designed to run and install these things in what they call a container, which is just like a mini microscopic computer. Bare bones machine that only installs the things that are necessary, and you can see like all the different bits and pieces that are being installed here. It only installs the stuff that's necessary to run whatever the services that you've downloaded or you've been given. So there shouldn't be any kind of incompatibility with your computer. That's the whole point of Docker, is that it doesn't matter what computer you're running on, as long as Docker is running, you can run the service that you're trying to run. Anyway, we'll let that tick away there, and we'll come back to our front end. So let me talk a little bit about the app that I want to build while we're waiting on the back end to set up. The app is called I Feel Good, and it is for a client who is a nutritionist who focuses on anti-inflammatory foods as a method to improve lots of different things, weight loss, stress, sleep quality, all sorts of things. And so her challenge at the moment is getting people to commit themselves to actually taking action, and for example, eating less sugar every day or avoiding red meats or something like that. So she's at the moment working with like email and WhatsApp messages to like give them encouragement, give her clients encouragement, and help them to honor their commitments, to be able to improve their lifestyle. And I think that an app would be a good way for them to do that. An app that onboards the person, asks them questions that are currently being asked either face-to-face to the client or through a questionnaire. Things about like why are you using this? So by the way, it's a French app, so I'm going to probably write it mostly in French, but I wrote it in English here just for me to make it easier. But the actual options, I've written them the way they're going to be in French. And you know, like what's your current weight, target weight, how old are you, what's your sleep quality? So just trying to get an idea of where they're at. Now, what I would like is, depending on these answers, then they hit a dashboard where they have a list of tasks, daily tasks to complete. This is quite common. I've seen this in like ADHD apps or like get rich kind of apps where you're like setting yourself goals, and every day you're ticking off the goals that you've done. And then it's like gamified, so it tells you like, oh, you've done 10 goals today, you're a hero, and gives you a badge or like a trophy or confetti or something. So I'm going to use some of those concepts in here too. So I want them to be able to see like a list of tasks, no more than 10 maximum, maybe not even at the beginning, just like 5 maybe at the beginning, and it'll increase the more they get points. When they check off stuff, they see confetti and like a Lottie animation or something on the screen. Once they've checked all the check boxes, then they'll see fireworks and a message that says, congratulations, you won X number of points. The points appear at the top, and then I'm going to take this out for the moment. So this will be V2. I'm trying to keep the scope limited, so I'm just trying to take out stuff I don't need. And when they've amassed a certain number of points, they should see that the number of tasks has increased, with intermediate and advanced tasks appearing after I don't know how many points, X or Y points. And they should see that to encourage them, like, you're only 20 points away from intermediate level. So there's like a game aspect to it. So this is all I want to build for now. I want to just get it out there to our clients and see if it works. If people like it, then we can improve it with other stuff. I put like V2, like appointment booking, meal plans. There's lots of ideas that we could put in there. And this is like a classic app building piece of advice. Try to limit your scope to the MVP, minimum viable product. Like not, oh, but they need to be able to have a meal plan. Oh, they need to be able to book an appointment. Not yet, they don't, because they can send this client of mine an email to book an appointment, and she can send back meal plans in PDF and like make them pay for it on her Wix website. So she doesn't need that stuff. What she doesn't have is a system where people can tick off tasks and get points. That doesn't exist. She could try to adapt something like Typeform or a really cool like questionnaire filling in system, but I don't think it's going to have the same impact as this kind of like mobile friendly with her logo on it type app, which will just launch to the web for the beginning, and we'll have people go to a website to access it, and then hopefully we can deploy it with Capacitor to the App Store afterwards and have people get it on the App Store too. So that's the app. Our backend is not running. Conflict the container name. MongoDB is already in use. Okie dokie. So we're going to call it container name MongoDB. I feel good. Cloud service is already in use. Of course it is. Cloud service. I feel good. And save. It's a good thing I kept that open. There it goes. So that's it, creating all the funky fresh stuff it needs to do in MongoDB. The Noodle backend uses parse, and parse imposes stuff on MongoDB, creates a kind of structure in MongoDB that it can use. So we're rocking. We're good to go. Let's add the backend into our project. So we take the public server URL, go to our cloud services panel. We add a cloud service. We're going to call it I feel good. Oops. Feel good. And we're going to call it local version Docker, because then I remember that it's not the live version. The endpoint is good. The app ID is my app ID. Master key is my master key. And now we click the service. We click use in editor that links the service to your project. You can only have one cloud service per editor. No, you can have two. No, you can only have one. If any weird bugs like this happen, exit the project. Enter the project again. No, it really is. Oh, okay, because it's the same. Because the click and collect app I'm building has the same back-end endpoint. Hopefully this will just work out and it'll be fine. We'll see. So there we go. We've got our back-end working. You can open it up and have a look at it. It's got users, it's got roles. If you see this, everything's worked okay. If you don't see this, if there's no information in the browser, or if it just comes up with a blank screen, it means there's a bug. So you better go back and check Docker and debug that. Ask questions in the community. People will help you if you need that. So no worries. Right, so we wanted a name property for the user. Okay, because yeah, this template has a name property. Well, I'll think about that later. Don't need to think about that right now. What we need right now is a sign up process, and then I want to get a questionnaire in place, and maybe we'll have time to finish that tonight before the next episode of this exciting adventure. One other thing we need to do, basic setup point. We need to get an API key from SendGrid. So whether you want to use SendGrid or not, I don't care. You can swap out SendGrid stuff for Brevo or for whatever. In my apps, I use sometimes Brevo. I use Amazon Simple Email Service like AWS SES, which is really complicated to set up. But anyway, SendGrid is super easy. I've never had to pay for it before. I've been in over 30 app projects and nobody has ever got enough customers to actually have to pay for it before. It's kind of a sad thing, isn't it? That's not a criticism against any of the apps that I've done. It's just the fact that 99% of apps don't ever get to millions of users. Anyway, so it's free. Why not just use it? So let's make an API key, full access. I feel good. I'm going to show you the API key. So yeah, maybe I'll change it later. Maybe I won't. Do you want to hack me? Be my guest. So once we got our API key from SendGrid, we need to go into our cloud functions. There's already a SendGrid cloud function in the template because it's used to send the password reset email. So send email, you're going to see settings in the cloud functions. So this is how we send emails from SendGrid. And we go into settings and we see SendGrid API key. So we don't have a parameter for that at the moment because we need to go into our cloud service. I feel good. Config, this is where we store secrets that are stored within parse directly within your database that are accessed securely through your app. So this is SendGrid API key. We don't need it to, I don't think you need the master key to access it. That would mean that somebody would have to be logged in, I think is what it means. Only when requested with the master key. Yeah, I can't remember what it means. But there we go. SendGrid API key. So SendGrid API key. Local override you don't need. It's only if you have maybe a value that's like Stripe, for example, you use like a production API key and a test API key. So that would be what would go here. If you're in the local editor, it's going to use that API key. And if you're in the production version, you've deployed it, then it'll use the regular API key that I just put in the database there. But we don't need that. So that's good. And our from address, that's something you have to think about as well. You need to go into SendGrid and get a sender authentication in the settings. Make sure you have a single sender or domain authentication. You just follow the instructions on how to do that, but I have a few that I can use just for testing purposes. It means that I can say that the email is from admin@learnbook.net, and in the future we'll make an email for the client and it'll all be fine. But just for testing purposes, I don't care what email it comes from. I just want to make sure that it comes from somewhere. So that's all good. Maybe I want to check the reset password workflow, request reset password. And then, yeah, there's settings here as well. There we go. So there's a couple of other things that we need to set as well. Email verification domain. It's what domain is the email going to come from? Isn't that what it is? Email verification domain. Yeah. What is the address where they should go to get the email? And it's there in request for password reset. No. Where is it? Domain. Email. I can't remember. format email. There it is. All right, so yeah, domain goes in here and it gets added to format. So domain, replace all domain inputs, domain. Yeah, and the content is the token. Yeah, so the domain, the token, the email. So the domain should probably be, where's the token coming from? I'm trying to remember how this works. Token, email. Yeah, email, token. Token is just a token. Yeah. So probably need to, there we go. Domain / reset password, token equals token, email equals email. Bingo. Whew. So the domain just needs to be your root domain. So let's go in and set that settings. So email verification domain is going to be, where are we? Feel good. So say you already have a domain in mind. So root domain. And we'll say, I mean, you could also do this with a function. You could also say, just like before you call the cloud function, you could ask it to give you the window location dot whatever and send that to the cloud function so that it has it dynamically from whatever current domain you're in. But let's say I already know that it's going to be ifeelgood.com. It's not, but just imagine. And the other thing we need was the from email verification from. And it's going to be admin@learnbook.net because I know that that one works. So email verification from, don't need a local override, and email verification domain. Here we do need an override. The override is going to be this. It's already set in the template, localhost : 8574. That's the address that the preview is running on. So then I'll open it up in the preview and give you the reset password workflow inside the preview, which is really handy. Right, I think that's actually all from that for now. I think those are the ones I needed for now. Yeah, so we're in the login page. We are in the app for the first time. We've got create account, login, forgot password, forever, whatever. I want to put it in a mobile view because I really want this to be a mobile first app. So let's add it, put it at like 340, yeah, 348. That sounds good. I don't like that it's pressing against the sides, so let's fix that first. Page container, it's gonna have a little bit of padding. Let's pad that sucker. It's a bit better, more. I'm not a good designer, by the way, so just get that idea out of your head right away. Create account also needs the same treatment. Sign up, I guess that's what it is. And yes, it is. So let's put a little padding at the side there. A little padding here. Cool. All right, we're starting to kind of chip away at the project here. It's maybe a good moment, just in case at the point where you've spent an hour or 2 hours on this, you're going to want to back it up somewhere. You don't want it just to be sitting in your documents folder and then accidentally delete it or gets corrupted. So let's already initialize version control. So this is like doing git init in your terminal. And then what we're going to want to do is get a git origin. We need a GitHub, which is free, yeah, GitHub repo for free. This is a place where we can store our project and we know that it's definitely going to be there forever and ever and ever. So let's do new repo. I'm going to call it I feel good Noodle. The Noodle project folder for I feel good app. We're going to make it private because we don't want it to display all over the internet. Just make it private to yourself and you're the only one who can see it, or you can add collaborators later on down the line who will also be able to see it, who will also be able to share your Noodle project. Take the Git address there, the HTTPS address that's been generated, put it as the Git origin. Personal access token, you're going to need to get a token from, well, I'll show you how to do it. So we're going to go to settings, going to go to developer settings, going to go to personal access tokens, tokens classic, generate a new token, classic. Need to authenticate. Hold on a second. Excuse me when I safely log in. Where is it? Huh? Yeah, that's my GitHub. 604-766. There we go. All right, so this is called I feel good app key. Expiration is never. It's maybe safer to do an expiration than to renew it, but like I'm just too lazy for that. I'm sorry. I put on all the repo scope. That's all the only one you need. Generate token. And here it is. Stick it in here. You put your name, your email, so that when I do push stuff, it says who it comes from. Save that, and then it's going to maybe crash and not do anything, possibly. Well, let it think about that for a minute. I might need to exit the editor and come back in. Let's exit the editor and come back in. That's too long. So a lot of Noodle problems, it's kind of like having a computer problem. If you shut it down and start it up again, it'll work. And that happens a lot with Noodle. And that's not giving you a lot of confidence maybe in Noodle as a tool, but see, works fine. Push main branch. Pushing. Up to date. History. Initial commit. All is well in the world. And if we go back to our repo, your repositories, I feel good Noodle, and look at that, it's your project folder. So now that's safe forever. As long as you have, if you have this and you have an open source version of Noodle, say you fork Noodle yourself, or you fork Code Crusher, whatever you want to do, fork Fluxscape, doesn't matter. Fork something, you have it in your GitHub, you have the project in your GitHub, you have the editor itself in your GitHub, fork the cloud service as well, and then you have the cloud service in your GitHub as well, then your project is safe. And if Noodle today is stable and I can publish the stable website and it runs fine on all browsers, then that means that I have the total control and safety with all of these things packaged together. If Noodle can take down their repo, Code Crusher can go under, the whole community can go to crap, but you still have a working version of Noodle, a working version of the backend, and your project, then you can deploy it and run it anywhere and edit it at any time with your own version of Noodle that you have in your repo. So there is a way with open source to say, I am safe, my project is safe. So a lot of people hesitate, like, should I choose Noodle or not? Should I choose another one like Bubble because they've got a big community, or WeWeb because they have a lot of money behind it and blah, blah, blah. Or, Flutterflow, get loads of investment all the time. And that seems like a safer bet, but it's not any more or less safe than something like this. Those projects can go to crap in an instant if they change their pricing, if a competitor comes out that's 10 times better, if the code becomes obsolete, Flutter becomes obsolete and is replaced by something else by Google. So there's no safe choice. What I would say you should get is practical safety. And for me, Noodle is practically safe. You can actually achieve safety at the moment. You can say right now and for the foreseeable months in the future, my project is 100% safe. Nobody can take it away from me unless the internet disappears. And GitHub is like a part of the internet, so it's never going to disappear. The companies like Bubble or Flutterflow or whatever, yeah, okay, for right now you're safe, but you don't know what they're deciding behind closed doors, and you don't know what they're going to change tomorrow and how they're going to change their pricing structure or whatever. So that's just all I'll say about that. For me, Noodle is a safe choice, and really you can make yourself have real practical safety with a product like Noodle. So front end and back end, by the way. Yeah, so that's important. The full stack of your project is safe. Anyway, getting back to the business. So what have we done? Basic setup. We've done the editor. We've got, there's a few things that are not connected, right? Like name, for example. Let's do full, are we going to do full name or first name, last name? We're going to do first name, last name. I don't like this whole full name thing. I mean, I like having full names, but not like as a first last combo, right? So let's delete. No, we don't have to delete because we don't have a name column. Let's add a first name column. Let's add a last name column. Don't use spaces in your fields. Don't use spaces in your classes. Don't use spaces in your fields. I know we're coming from the bubble world sometimes, but normal developers don't use spaces in database field names and class names. That's not a good idea. And then let's do a first last so we can store it and it's easy to retrieve. I mean, you can either do it in the database or you can do it on the front end. It really doesn't matter. And actually probably the smart person would argue that having an extra field is less efficient than just doing a first last combination in the front end. So forget everything I just said. First name and last name, perfect. So we're not going to have full name as an input. We're going to have first name, and last name. I should probably start translating this into French, but let's do it like this for now. Disconnect that faulty port. I'm going to put the text from first name to the first name property of the user sign up. We're going to put the text property of the last name to the last name property of the sign up node. And then what was the other thing that had a first last name that was broken? Name. There we go. Oh yeah, profile image name. Okay. So yeah, I'm doing all this blind, by the way. I should just show you what I'm doing. Ta-da! First name, last name. It's good to have it in the preview as well. So let's imagine that we can sign in and we get to our profile page. I'm going to have to do this blind, but I think I know what I'm doing. We have a name text input. Oh yeah, because we want that. Okay, yeah. So we want that to be first name and last name. And then that's in the profile where they can edit their profile name. First name text, so it automatically fills the text with the first name and the last name. The text input gets auto-filled with first name and last name. And then we connect up first name and last name to set user properties, which means that if they change their first name or last name, we can help them to update, we can let them update that property with this. So when they click a button, which is, I guess, wherever the do signal is, save, click the save button, that's going to update user properties with the first name and last name. The image is still broken. We'll fix that later. But anyway, so the errors at the top can help you to know where like ports are not connected and stuff. And then it might be errors that actually you don't care about because you're like, I know that's an error. It's a function and it's not running right, but it doesn't matter. Just leave it. So there might be errors that you just never fix. But some of them will be useful, like knowing where the name field is incorrectly hooked up, for example, or the image field. So I'll come back to that later because I know that it's stored in here. I don't need to worry about it straight away. So that is fine. So we're not logging in, we're signing up. We're doing first name, last name, email, and password. Pretty sure that's gonna work okay. Let's try it. We're not on the, hang on, sign up. I'm gonna see that lighting up there. We're gonna go Richard Osborne, that's good. And username. So yeah, user digitalbricks.io. The username is a required field in parse, and email is also a required field in parse. Go figure. So just make them the same, because sometimes you're going to need to use the username, like to log them in, for example. Sometimes the email. If they're identical, then you'll have a lot less trouble working with that. You don't need them to have, like, if you want them to actually have a call sign, like a username, like a pseudonym, make an extra field for that called like pseudonym or nickname or something like that. Don't use the username field because it's not worth it. It needs to be unique and everything. It's really not worth the bother. So password is password. So we got username, password, email, first name, last name, all good. Sign up. Welcome to Noodle starter template. So if you see the cat, you know you're doing something right. It's obviously not mobile friendly. Sorry about that. The header is not mobile friendly. I just did it as an example. But I've got there's some elements in there for you to have a look at and see how these cat cards work. Very important stuff. So just a few basic things for you to help get started. To understand how they work, you can go and have a look at them. Yeah. So, you want to know how that amazing cat card works. Go to design here at the top instead of preview. and click where the element is. So either like on the element, it's going to take you into the card, or outside the element, it's going to take you into its parent container. So we can have a look and see like, oh, okay, it's a static array of cats. Got it. And it goes into a repeater, and the repeater has this template, which is the card, the image, the title, the etc., the blah. So some examples here about how array filters work, about how we extract data from a repeater. What's that? Icon plus value. Oh, okay. There's a node that's missing, so I'm gonna have to add that back into the template. I must have made a mistake here with that. Not sure what happened. I'll research into that. Et voila. So it's good, yeah, to go and use the design thing to go and click on things, just to understand how they work. Oh, how does that tab thing work? Interesting, that's what the tab template is. Okay, well, what is the actual tab component? Let's go and have a look at that. Okay, so you select the tab, it runs a function, it does yeah. So I think this will give you some interesting examples to go off to see how a Noodle app works. Now we haven't actually made enough. Oh, did we change anything there? Yeah, so we changed the profile page. So this is how we can actually see what we've done, remind ourselves what we've done. We changed the sign up, we changed these properties here. We deleted this one and we added these two. Cool. Let's commit that. So fixed sign up and profile page name bugs. Commit, push, and now our history is up to date, and anybody who's working on this project with us can download that most recent update, and we know that the app is now safe in the internet in GitHub, and there's nothing that anybody can do to take it away from us. So if you're at this point, you've started your app in the right way, you've got your back end running, you've got your front end safely backed up in GitHub, and you've started to personalize the template. So next time I'm going to show the process of getting the form set up, because I don't want them to arrive on the dashboard straight away. I want them to go sign up and then immediately go to onboarding, and they can't get to this point, the dashboard, unless they go through onboarding. So next time we'll go through the process of making a form with multiple pages and how we're going to populate the questions, if we're going to do it from the database or from static arrays. So stay tuned, because there's a lot of fun stuff coming in the I Feel Good project, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's resolved a lot of your anxiety and fear about Noodle, if you have any left, and you see that it's actually quite quick and easy to set up a basic app project. I talk a lot, so if you did that without me talking, I have a feeling you would be able to do it in about 10 minutes. But if you can't, let me know. And if you can do it even faster than 10 minutes, leave me a comment on the video. I would love to hear about it, and I will see you guys in the next one.